Hello everyone. So the topic for my ed talk is on formative assessments. And I'm sure through all the education classes that you've done, you've learned about the three different types of assessment. The first one being a diagnostic assessment, which is basically a starting point for a student each unit. So they take the test and then the teacher goes over the results and then they're able to pinpoint which areas of the unit need more attention than others. That way they're prepared for the end of unit test, which brings us to the summative or summative assessment, which is essentially a summary of the unit, the ultimate test of student knowledge, and is also can be done in the form of like the Virginia SOLs in accordance to the Virginia standards. And then, of course, we have the third type, which are formative assessments. And this includes any homework assignment, project, class discussion that's done within the unit. So you're taking their results from the diagnostic assessment, targeting which areas need improvement. That way they are fully capable of passing the summative exam at the end of the unit. Himmel and Himmel states that the best type of assessments are formative in nature because the ultimate purpose is to improve student learning or expanding their knowledge. There was another study within the text by Himmel and Himmel, and this study was done by Nichols, Myers, and Burling, and they state that instruction or an assignment can only be formative in nature if it results in a positive outcome for the student, that they actually benefited from the assignment or the discussion. You actually see a positive result. And they also state that while teachers are performing these assessments or assignments or discussions, that they're thinking about whether or not this information leads to changes that improve student achievement. So, and to do this, it is essential that teachers take notes while performing these assessments and then responding to their findings. So teachers can take notes by keeping a record of student progress as a whole or taking individual student progress reports. But it's important that teachers do not depend on only a few assignment grades or test grades to actually gauge student learning, because some students are not good at taking tests, so it's not going to be an accurate portrayal of student success. And also keeping a detailed record will ensure the discovery of outlying grades. So say a student usually gets A's or B's and then all of a sudden they get a C on assignment right before the unit test. So it is important that the student or the teacher realizes this and then targets which or focuses on the area the student is struggling with. That way they're prepared for the test at the end. And there are different types of formative assessments. There are simple ones like homework assignments and projects. My favorite one is an exit ticket, because in history there's two types of areas that need to be focused on. There's fact-based learning and then critical thinking. Exit tickets help with the fact-based aspect of history. So if I'm doing a lesson about Roman mythology, their gods and goddesses, I can ask the students about 2 to 4 questions at the end to make sure they retain the information they need. And then, but with Himmel and Himmel, their focus is on total participation techniques. And in their chapter on formative assessment, they discuss the chalkboard splash, which was discussed early in the semester, I think about the second week. And this can be used in history, like I'll assign my students to read primary source documents, and then they'll answer some questions and then go around the classroom and discuss them with other students. That way, they're not just depending on their own knowledge, they're gaining viewpoints from other students, so they're expanding their knowledge. And then another one was actually brought up by an English teacher, and they're called quick writes, which essentially students are writing in journals for about 3 minutes. And the questions do not actually have to pertain to the content material. the English teacher actually asked them questions like, what did you do today? Or what happened to you today? How did you respond to it? Because it taught the students how to summarize the event and then find the main points or theme of the summary, which is very important in English classes. But you can connect this to your content area, like in history. It's important to ask broad questions that require students to actually think critically. So don't just ask questions simply like, name 3 tools that were invented during the Neolithic period. Ask broad questions like, how did religion affect the life of the people in ancient Greece? They actually requires them to have to actually think. And then they should have a paragraph at the end of the 3 minutes, and then I'll give them a chance to discuss it with their peers. And to connect with last week and the text we're reading now about technology, I brought up using do nows to implement technology, having the students come in and they see the do now on the board, like on a projector, and this can be done using the quick write. So they come into class, do the quick write, and then we can proceed with the rest of the class. But essentially, our goal is to expand student knowledge and get them prepared for the tests that they have to pass. And I have a few discussion questions for you. So come up with a formative assessment of your own and then discuss how you will implement it into your class plan. And then how will you evaluate the effectiveness of the assessment? And how will you respond to the results? Simply like that. So basically, how will you test that the students are benefiting? Yeah. Okay, have a good night, guys, and I will see you all in the discussion board.